by. Making music in public is convenient. Okay, for the positivity, whatever you can consider, just remember, you must transform. And I just want to say thank you. Ever be to be critical, enough of my behavior to go and play an effect in my spiritual. Even be severe becomes a spirit. Touching ears to those who want to hear. For the truth that lies below the surface. So this is underlying honesty for the position you can find diffusing, not knowing the possibility for the affecting your energy for the intuitive grace. Allow you the next passing hour like you in the foreign places. Who's to blame for being confused, to burn for the fuse, and choosing to express what's on your mind for the not being considered for the place of the net that you can go through for the matters is all the next. Following my heart, not destination, then pulling over to let the others pass it, pulling emotions aside and this and find a passive driving, getting drunk and dancing, future moving, around and finding future breath and with nice lips away for the here. Rest of that for the night, for the rest of the peaceful dreams gates and first. The smell of the breaking it fast and that's and finding eating slow. Eating. Men made for the way, for the bed, for the food, the taste of the acid refrigerator down the sink of hours to take the ownership for the day. For it was the hours to keeping the ship with the sinking over the acid tasting down the throat. It was the most important enough for the matters of aspiration of planets and breaking up with the condition X. Marks your spot. Times and coordinates and cordially find a corresponding for enough of the corporate America that cans and find a don't. And trash the good news is I'm a musician, she's a dancer. And not for the one for the dozen to get the cancer, but enough for the complicated justify. Everything for the just to be there so much for the ever understand for what we won't have plans for. Time for what matter for the drifting emotions and floating in oceans and depending on the science and gravity paper. Seeking to swim in this and the heart to see for the understanding and fading in the moment for the know the stars will be gone and give a resolution. Find the meaning for the life for to be able to see the time away for home position, heart of money for the opinion and still enough for the feel for the mail for the memory yourself for the it was learned to the copyright for the overnight passing your thoughts and zip codes. Ride drained and explain pain until you was numb enough for the light of the years of the dumb for the thumb, but it was here to understand it for this to be the parts of the food for thought for the finger foods and the appetizers that get drunk off of the love. Being put in the tank like passing that breath lights of forgetting the children and like you had the part or Alzheimer's or distant mother letters. Child that can find a child without a memory for the father for the run back to your cloudy wasteland. See it through like inside out, like the turning lines of the clothes that are getting washed inside. I could like to watch the cheers to the pitchers, being arranged for the announcers to call a batter for the swinger. Or an abuser for the batter for the glove, for this a student for the mound. There's noticed that for the third strike, and it was inside and washed inside out. Like a shower beat your clit, the sexual peak for the beak, the British teeth of the queef, from this to open the gate for the leash, and taking the heart for the chest, but beyond the reach of wisdom for the
army of dead weight. I'll pull my ungun on cabinet thinking Pope scapegoats and dream every owner's tie caught in its own slave. Hot machine overtiming in coal mine dug into ozone. Unemployed populace standards turning red flag turns in schoolyards throat. The humming of every ready to depart car part. Some emotions creaking heart like muffler dust on some cold mornings left behind air. The same sun showering in front of you and everyone else awake in this town. Exposed and confused, we load bullets into the feeling that something's wrong. Many man tuning his shadow which doesn't fit, pulling teeth marks from some hard to sing through days. Loose skin draped over floor to ceiling metaphors for windows and windshields, not for their shielding attributes but for blind men don't bring in planes. I can only count on the next drum hit to land on time and in its place. Here's what's eating at an entire layer of the human condition. Hunger. A room in his head hailing and sleeting away on $1,000 thoughts. Another poor man falls from the sky. Muted surfs talking up a storm, isolated and piled on top of each other. The waves come to crash and melt away. The attic's not full of gods or presidents. The owner only owns his tie because he brought into it. 8 species die in a coal mining accident. An army of estranged unarmed pistols and concrete sleeves march on parade day, pouring through well thought out sewer systems. Exposed and confused, we load bullets into our empty feelings and aim our voice towards everything or nothing. I had a hard time deciding which to insert at the end. The outside coming off a backyard. The fenced off curves of a woman naked playing the piano like a solid rock. She dug her chisel fingers a centerpiece to ripple futures feet from you between a times table like a lake, multiplied infinity. Our inflections open new back roads like never clear water. My shipwreck songs expand, break apart, and their pieces become the size of Jupiter and Adam on an ankle, the leg, a pen, jotting always. We wrote ourselves to work on someone else's carving wheel, made obey. My house elephant needs to find a new circus act. The confusion on unicycles peddling the front door and hot summer air at a stand on wheels with a cash bucket. Pack another pipe dream, lead for everyone. Keep one under the pillow, rain check every tear. All your crying in a suitcase, burdens in a trunk, doing tricks for peanuts and euphemisms. A horn similes sound. The sun stood straight up for 1 hour. This poem is noon siren, a distant state calling me. The inside sliding off a dining room, off a phone call. The clouds dialed out. We look for puddles to look at each other from. I waited for an answer, watching the speech of rain ruffle a normally combed window, well worded but static and distracted today. They cartwheel in the acid rain to celebrate the end of a dry spell, crumbling in indistinctive chatters, semi-last words like a sentence's thumb or important nouns height. She lost her features in a sedated, seated and trained screaming audiences blowing its bought nose, adjusting their hair like train tracks, attic ladders to install thought bubbles, the clouds like billboards, all socially correct and sending out a message. 100 bottles of blank paper, an ocean omitted its wave, the tree line omitted out of a wonder, alone where I'll attach the back cover. Coded from a peephole I'm locked behind, garnishing my eyelids. The grocery store wore mascara, the neighbors wore resealable packaging. The volume wore my mood. I'll book review the feedback, skinning layers off a decision. I with my mind on my back, the tree I'm tied to coming off its summer, a put off wall coming off its house paint. An urge to splatter and drip, cut windows and at least cock dreams, always aimed at a target, counting your dinner, me losing couch posture, a face to feel familiar, the entire situation, talking underwater. She fills me with bubbles, and I trap wind to sell kites and flying machines clipped by the wings, trying to blow out a candle with one's last breath. Who could read my handwriting falling out of its formal clothes? Pushing away life rafts, holding ground, metal and math, lent mechanical brain with table legs, dish edible daylight, routine assembling centerpiece. I watched 40 people talk over a loud building crashing at table 7. 2 tried to look at each other around the roses in the middle of the round table, eating our wrenches and tablecloths like diary sheets in an exercise gym. He towed a fire truck offbeat and flat from his neck, calling all erosion and peak, tuned the world with his pitch, selling his own thoughts to words like dew built up on morning grass to be mowed over and grown again and again and then again and again and again. A fire in my mouth. I keep her in desk drawers and smoke rings. A man dying in a kitchen. He keeps worries under food and in his eyes. A tape radio talks to itself in a basement. It keeps its weight on its circulatory system and knows its age by its voice. A computer having coffee drinks its information with symbols and does not know it will die. My neighbor knows she will die. A snowstorm under my tongue, I keep myself tied to a shovel, digging for smoke clouds. A gentleman in a spacesuit fixing his collar. He keeps his wife stuck to the roof of his mouth and only chews on her alone. My neighbor's computer isn't happy to be alive. A front yard with its ear tagged keeps its name in a fence and waves with its left out toys. A mother rowing in a routine doesn't know she's a mime, keeps her keys in her throat and can't swallow newspaper. A man who agrees reports the news from 150 years ago, wearing his hat tight and secure. A flood in my mouth, I keep my dying in oceans, my blood in oars, my boarded windows in conversation, my perplexities slit wide open, the afternoon air in my lungs, and scribble my ashes on store walls, digging for ambulances, swatting sirens, hammering music to concrete, singing ice cubes burnt. A world, it keeps its always in going, and makes nothing that can think of its end. Everyone talked about. Her songs were brown and my ears green to take your goodbyes. The sky not silver enough to trade, our battery charged winter dead enough to die. The comb and scissor were the thinning trees, not smart enough to start a business. Our tape rewound town, a button for mourning, my press not red enough, ghost dosing my prescribed cut of yellow sun. My tangled ideas were the storm, still a mess, and wires along the roads left notes and drained my whale like an opera blue. Dehydrated sea saw it drown, pulling pollution out of its hair. My wind-up storm left tires and overcoats in the willow trees. Broken flags, they found reason in their stir. They found him assorted in a small room, keeping his leaves. The stocking run rivers, not gold enough for currency exchange to sell down the river, to whiten the fence, brush the trees. I hung my hair out of a window, I wrote to a wall on the page. She holds a handful of dead ends. I Main Street evacuation slide, sitting in a chair carved from a tree. Now I'm the overcoat caught to the top of a pole, the black rind at the edge of the sky, a flag for nowhere. The gone moments were the time, the rings in the cut down trees. Her songs were faded and my fruit green to harvest. My plot, an overworded ground, not there enough to rest.
Like the flexibility of the words is the flexibility of the mind, hence ways of looking at life, hence life itself in person, signing autographs on car accidents and making that next moment sit a bit different than the rest. Pointing out what common words and contagious abstractions can only allude to, more specific ingredients for a more specific hue of the spectrum and all its tight violin strings tied to various storage organs inside you, making your happy specific to you, and I'll keep my depressed in heavy jackets and crying women's drum patterns. The subways in your head are packed full of picture booths and sketch artists always drawing what you draw from to jog memory or whatever they rename that street you used to like to walk late at night by yourself with nothing but the earth's axis and some light wind. But now to be by yourself scares you. The sketch artist seems to have grown into depression like a tight blue suit, and you refuse to wear your favorite color because it makes you look too much like you or something. You learn things just letting the film reel spin the way it's supposed to. Watch.
need a running start most of the time now. Like clocks' faces can recur in dreams, or her new way of pouring tea has you spilt open and spread all over beds. We have designated places to lay down, and an air conditioning choir plays outside, recruiting members and picking up radio signals. The static I keep around my head has a way to be worn, parted or down, and depressed inside out is angry, bleeding in the laundry. The sidewalk reading me walking down the street from left to right, bookmark me on some corner, waiting for bells, slabs of meat and drool. A cat comes crashing through an awning. The woman I'm with likes to watch them all tumble down the drain and pour into the sewer, but I run across the street looking for cover. Some horn section of a song wipes its hands all over the tablecloths in my mind. Some band is covering my most neglected memory, which every time played has a taste of novelty and familiarity. I go days scared of losing my own bones, like my pen caught bulimia. I write dry heaves and daydream opuses, floating over clouds of ideal front porches and half-visible ways to wear America without a belt. A tree stood with her pants down, scattered around her ankles, and remember comes in smelling soaked heavy and getting lost as a kid in large pockets and deep creases of autumn. You'll never make money off obscure translations of unspoken sunsets, like dead languages being sold for body parts on the black streets of some soot-covered city block. And I think of a curtain rod in the motel in San Francisco, shaking its finger no, the curtains like hands practicing blocking the sun when it comes, armed, loaded, and shooting aimlessly into the crowd.
Friday's deflated lips and tall words. Her sentence had its shadow across my face like an idea rising to the surface, undressing its tongue, unassembled hills in lumps along the outstretched arm of time, reaching for solid matter like dock posts. My untranslated ocean of veracity, vegetable in someone's decaying clothes, clamped to a plate like a house growing from a hardening dream. I stubbed my subconscious on a system's table leg. My conceit has a leaf, unowned, expanding figurative field, stowing rain, leaving for an unfolding figurative winter. Barrels of wonder embedded in my jammed up expression. The day does my hook for me. A chorus of loud bullets in love, chasing their lotteries down man-made holes. A chorus of loud bullets in love, chasing their lotteries down manholes. Start 32 rat races and rabbit holes. My favorite skin wears like an unlooked through windows, drapes castrated of wind. The painter without paint. My government's medically removed breasts. A suspended storm cloud over everything hangs like dead Christians made into house paint, thick, hardened and slopped everywhere. My diminishing people have your fucking cancer, like barbed fences tightened around screaming pastures, dried milk, the tipped over holy cow burned at the stake, cooked, sad, and singing for no one. A brightened room crammed into a thinking box's most crowded thoughts. Tired of trying to free a breeze from packaged convention by bird calling nature in the key of confidence or blithe. The hard metal delivery trucks and grinding job machines now do all my choruses for me. And I'm scared to sing even my servant songs and gear sounds. Pop songs.
My eyes drowned and there was no lifeguard to give me CPR. An effective death guard would be a good pop song you can dance to. My mind does the Running Man all the way back to its house, jogging my memory for thought exercise, bench pressing depression and getting spotted by the conscience police. The siren sings me to shore and confident ideas, ones that can wear belly shirts and no makeup anywhere. Shipwrecked on her shoreline where the waves broke and got put back together by dream repairmen. The sea split and waved goodbye. I shoved my island into a bottle and threw myself off a cliff. Notes from the sun on my face, read by every passing person. At dusk, the moon gets turned on like a streetlight, and I have to be back in before the stars start shooting. Last week, 3 people I know got shot. Love turned me on like a television and channeled me up to heaven. Heaven's been closed for 8 years now, went bankrupt and fired all of its employees. Now I don't know where I'm going to get that ice cream I like so fucking much. Drums were abused as children. I can hear guitars arguing from windows. The moon hangs around in trees like young children playing hide and seek. Another day spent on bad magazines and dull points that will draw out the rest of my week. Bad art, very bad art, a photographic memory gallery. I've been practicing my casket pose. Lie still and it will all be over soon. My eyes learned to swim, became a lifeguard, and the sun is just a car fire blazing somewhere down the street. Don't worry, it will put itself out.
One blank, and a flock of muzzled, still-moving bullets loaded into a funeral. His loosened stance like curtains on a falling building. All the window guts of a world you can only watch. All the ledges you've ever dissected, frozen and stored, all measured into a mixed barrel. A pond caught in your city window. The gun's ash like slit open curtains stirring in a barely there falling breeze. The wind falls out of an October night. We scatter and hit walls. A man unrolling a eulogy at a podium jams up a certain window's pallbearer like his personality's certain way of handling the heavy mood. We climb through the puddles of wind in the parking lot to get to the car. A procession to a dug grave like fallen rain. Dead, no longer rain, just water running into potholes. The weather's percussion. Afterwards we party in chains, dancing on flat tires and bumpy roads in the side street of a house. The evening's capo, tune chatter, throw around bland directions like gun blanks. I aimed home. The road shot across a field until it hit a hill and disappeared. His piled years like hills, the old roads to his certain memories no longer there, or now built up and remixed, overpopulated, all grown in, or just dirt roads disappeared. Window deleted, curtain falling, title spacebar.